Hi fellow founders, how you going? Welcome to the next video in the Founder Daily Vlog series. In this video, I'm going to be talking about some of the actual process that you need to go through in order to incorporate your startup as a Delaware C corporation in the United States. As with my previous video, nothing I say here is legal or financial advice. I'm just talking through some of the process that I went through and the various services that are available. If you have any questions or concerns, I'd highly recommend that you seek out your own legal or financial advice, because if you do something wrong, it can have lasting implications. Anyway, in today's video though, I'm going to talk through some of these services that exist, including CapBase, which is the service that I use. Now, I'm not one for being negative towards new products or services, but I can't necessarily recommend you use CapBase. I'll talk to a little bit of the reasons why as I go through that, but for now, let's just talk about how you actually get started. So with any of these services, the starting point is fairly similar in that you want to incorporate your company. And to do that, they're going to ask you a series of questions, right? They basically take this information and then populate the required government forms that are then submitted to the state of Delaware in order to incorporate. This process is very straightforward and I imagine very standard across all of these different services. It takes around 3 days to get to that point. Following that, CapBase sell themselves on the ability to bringing all these additional features and capabilities to help manage your company, whether it's setting up your board, purchasing your shares, registering in other states if you're doing businesses in other states, setting up a bank account, etc. This is where the process starts to move away from being very easy and start to be a little bit more complex, a little bit more time consuming. In order to purchase your shares, you obviously need a bank account in which to send the money, but in order to have a bank account, you need to have what's called an EIN number or an employee identification number. If you are a US resident and you have a social security number, this is a very straightforward process. You can probably get the EIN number in a day or two. If you're a foreign founder like me, it's a much longer period of time. It says on the IRS website that it's 4 to 6 weeks. In reality, it took me almost 8 weeks, partly because I started the incorporation process in December and then didn't account, I guess, for the fact that there might be a holiday shutdown period. So it took me 8 weeks to get the EIN number. Once you have that, you then need to create a bank account. This is not automated or very easy like it is in many other countries like Australia. It takes like another 2 or 3 days to get that. Finally, once you have that, you can purchase your shares. One of the things to be aware of is this 83B election form or election letter that you basically write. That is very relevant for US founders or founders who envisage that they may become a US citizen or US tax resident during the course of running their business. I personally did not need to fill this out because A, I don't plan on moving to the US, and B, my shares are not actually held by me as a person. They're held in a trust. That's very common here in Australia. Again, doesn't seem as common in the US, but just something to be aware of. As you move through that, again, CapBase bring all these other features to the table that are meant to make running and managing your company significantly easier. A couple of ones that would be standouts are the cap table, and this is where I started to find a few of the challenges with their platform, to be brutally honest. When you are raising funds, especially if you're an early stage startup, chances are it's the investor who's giving you their preferred set of documentation. Whether you're raising money on a convertible note or as a safe agreement, they're going to have standard terms and conditions that they want you to agree to. Unfortunately, how it works in CapBase is you basically say that you're raising funds, put in the email and contact details of your investor or potential investor, and they then send them a standard agreement. There's no way of uploading your own custom template within the dashboard itself. You have to contact support. You have to ask them to upload it. All these things are just adding to a manual workload. So that's just something to be aware of. The other big thing is compliance. I'm going to do a separate video on that because compliance for a US company is quite significant. But if I just jump into my dashboard, CapBase do sell themselves on the fact that they help with compliance. I would say that that is a relatively minor degree of help. And just another pet peeve of mine, it's saying that I need to set up a bank account, and even though I've linked it a couple of times, it keeps forgetting. So it keeps bringing me back to this screen. But if you go to the compliance calendar, you can see these compliance filings. If, for example, I click on this one, Delaware Quarterly Tax, filing for October and December 2022, you click this link, it takes you to the Delaware website, and it's not exactly clear what you really need to fill out. again, coming from an Australian experience, this is significantly more complex and not as easy to follow as I've experienced basically running Australian companies in the past. Now, I'm going to talk about a service that I've signed up with, which is called Doula, Doula.com, which have what is called a tax and compliance or total compliance, package. And they basically ensure you remain in compliance with all of these different regulations. So I have literally signed up for this only the other week, and I'm starting to onboard with them, and I'll be able to share some further updates. But the reason why I bring this up is whether it's CapBase or any of these other services, they may say that they help with compliance, but essentially they're just providing dates and links to government websites and not even specific government forms or government sections of the website, and you still have to do a lot of the heavy lifting. I'm not going to fault the company for not going into too much detail, but just be aware, as I said, whether it's CapBase or any of the other services, if they're saying they help with compliance, it's going to be a very low level of help. So the other platform that I wanted to bring to your attention is one called Gust. I came across Gust after I'd already incorporated, actually through some of their YouTube videos where they were talking about tax compliance and other obligations that you have as a Delaware C corporation. That's why I wanted to include them in this video. As you can see, they have a very similar process to CapBase. You can incorporate your startup. They help with the incorporation itself, the EIN number. Again, they say you'll be up and running in as few as 3 days. Take that with a grain of salt. And then all the post-incorporation stuff. Again, this is consistent with CapBase, the bylaws, appointing board members, etc., etc. As you go through, they do offer the same type of things around the cap table management, issuing stock and board actions. Because I haven't used Gust, I can't say if it's only a standard set of documents or if they allow you to upload whatever agreement your investor has provided, whether it's a SAFE or convertible note or straight equity financing. I'd like to hope that one of these services allow that to make managing your cap base a little bit easier and not having to rely on them to manually update things. Again, opening a bank account, so they have that same kind of process. They do recommend Brex again here, Brex Cash, which is the one that I have. So far I found that process very good in terms of the user interface and experience of Brex. There's a few little roadblocks, or not roadblocks, but a few little hurdles to jump over when registering. It's not like an immediate thing. It does take a couple of days. But once you're on board, the user interface and how Brex works, thumbs up. I do like the process, and they do send you a nice snazzy black card as well, which is cool. So again, staying up to date with company operations. I mean, on face value, this does look to be a little bit more comprehensive just from the screenshots. As you can see, closing off your books, franchise tax, claiming your R&D credits, etc. So I'd, if anyone has had experience actually with Gust, comment down below. Let us know, how you found that. You can see here they've got this add safe button. Again, I'm not sure if that's just using their standard docs, but that's definitely one other that I'd recommend that you check out. It could certainly be an alternative to CapBase. The third and final is Clerky. So I did actually contact Clerky to ask about incorporating through them. They had some limitations given that the shares that I was purchasing in Oqire as the founder were being purchased via a trust. That's why I didn't include them. But again, high-level value prop is always consistent with each of these services. How do you avoid problems with legal paperwork, which is probably very easy to do if you're trying to do this manually, just given the complexity that I've seen with my limited experience with US tax law and regulations. Allows you to set up your company easy, add co-founders, etc. You can hire, you've got this dashboard for hiring and fundraising, again, very consistent with the other two services that we've seen. Bank accounts, again, you're going to see Brex mentioned there. I don't know, there was another one called Mercury, which I didn't personally use, but potentially I'm not sure if that's their logo there, so that could be another one. You also do get discounts. That seems to be one of the other kind of things that a lot of these platforms provide. So even down here at the bottom of Gust, you would have seen that there was all these different discounts. So although you're paying some money to incorporate, you can potentially make some of that back depending on what services you're using. Just out of interest, we will go to pricing. So Gust, Incorporation's $300 a year. If you want some of the other stuff, the legal support, etc., $1,000, which is the same price as CapBase. We'll get to Clerky's pricing in a second. And then there's some post-incorporation stuff as well. So Clerky does seem to be a little bit more limited. While it does all of the paperwork side of things, it doesn't necessarily provide the compliance aspect and the ability to keep on top of dates and all of that kind of stuff. It might also be some more limitations when it comes to advisor agreements and that kind of thing. But let's just check out their pricing very quickly. I did do this before. So company lifetime package, you're looking at $800 for a one-off fee. And I'd say that with Clerky, if you were getting Clerky and then something like Doula and their total compliance package, you'd probably have the same level of coverage from a compliance perspective as a CAP-based or a GUST. And then, of course, you also get the bookkeeping component with Doula as well. So they're just 3 potential services that I'd recommend you at least have a look at and consider. As I said, though, it's not financial or legal advice. Each of these services are designed to basically allow you to create companies out of a box. If you don't fit out of a box, you're definitely going to need to consult with a legal expert. And I'd say the more complex your company or your board or the co-founders, if you've got a large number of co-founders or some complex other requirements, different IP assignments, or you're spinning out of another company to create this company, whatever the case may be, I definitely recommend that you err on the side of caution and speak with someone who has, appropriate legal experience and qualifications to assist you with this. But I hope that was helpful for those people out there who are looking at incorporating in the US as a bit of a starting point. Feel free to comment down below if you've used either Clerky or GUST. I'd be very keen to hear other people's experiences with those platforms. And I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching.